Public Q&A presents Ask Reddit question. What's something you wish you started doing earlier in life? Taking my health more seriously. Specifically, quitting smoking and making it stick. I am now 5 years nicotine-free, but that's after 33 years of smoking. At least you were able to. That shit is hard, so great job. Best choice I ever made, for sure. Getting up when the alarm goes off instead of hitting snooze. Brushing my teeth. Sad face no one made me when I was too little to care, and by the time I wanted to do it for me the damage was done but not too hard. I always brushed hard as heck because that's what I was taught, and that's what I thought I was supposed to do to get clean. I'm 23 now and my gums aren't really bad, but there's some irreversible receding already. Now I brush holding the very end of the handle between my index and thumb tip, so there's no way I can brush too hard. Also, 23yo, and I brush kind of hard and long, just my mind think it isn't clean enough. This habit plus my weird childhood addiction to soft drinks is probably going to give me hell later in life. I've been drinking exclusively water for years and brushing at night and in the morning, but I just know my enamel is probably non-existent at this point. Your dentist will probably tell you if your enamel is gone. Mine did. Doesn't mean your teeth are suddenly ruined though. Mine's been gone for a long time with little issues. Just a little cold sensitivity. I've always been a pretty religious brush tooth before bed air, but I wish I would have always done it at wake up too. Twice a day brushing is a good habit I wish I would have developed much earlier in life. WTF you all go on with your day after waking up and not brushing your teeth. I know, right? I'll admit that I often skip the pre-bed brush, but I feel like a human trash can before I brush in the morning. As a dentist I can tell you that it is very important to brush before bed. When we sleep we don't produce enough saliva, and there is no buffering/washing effect and bacteria has a party. Hopefully this will motivate you to brush twice a day consistently. Also floss. Brushing is incomplete without flossing. Mr. Dr. Dentist person, I have an honest question. Is there a major difference between water flossing and regular flossing? Or is doing either one regularly just as good as the other? It's a difference between no-touch car wash and hand washing your car. Better than nothing, and water flossing has definite benefits, but flossing with proper technique is better. It sounds fancy, but it's really not hard, lol. Being myself more. I remember I constantly changing my personality based on the friends I was hanging out with, which made me very unhappy. But now that I started being myself around people that actually like me has made much more accepting of myself. Adapt to survive. It works with some people but not with others. At the end of it you're so damn exhausted trying to constantly switch between personalities, you just say, fuck it, and live alone as a hermit. Glad you found people who appreciate you shit. I was not ready for this epiphany. Could you please not write out my personal thoughts? I keep these bottled up to avoid confronting them. Not worrying about having lots of friends. In my younger years I tried to be friends with too many people at once and didn't have any solid friendships. Having a few really close friends is far better than many wishy-washy friends. I lost a lot of friends when I got sober, only occasionally missed that crazy shit. Thought I was the only one. I've only got one friend left from my addict days. She never became addicted to anything and respects that I did, and that I don't want that shit around me anymore. I tried to keep friendships with many of those people, but everyone else tried to invite me to drug parties, or just casually pulled out some of my preferred substances while we were chilling together, offered me some. I guess they thought it was polite, and made me lose all respect for them. I'm happy to be sober, but it sucks that I have only one friend who knows me from before I was 22, and I got my act together. Same thing happened to me. It's as if everyone only liked the whacked out wild version of me. Almost instantly after I got sober almost every friend cut me out of their lives. I've only got one friend left from those days, but I haven't spoken to her in a couple of years. It's strange and lonely, and I'm happy to be sober, but I miss having people want me around. It sucks. I lost friends to being on drugs, then I lost other friends to getting clean from drugs. I liked drugs because they made me more sociable. I'm autistic and struggle to come out of my shell to make friends, and now I'm worried about trying to reconnect with my pre-drugs friends because it's been so long. I'm sure we're so different and have nothing in common anymore. Not to mention how shy I am about approaching them to say, hey, I messed up but I'm not that person anymore, could we try to have a friendship again? I mean, do I say that? What do I say? Ugh. I guess I've grown fairly content with my own company. My mom would always say, I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies, quality over quantity. I've lost friends over the years, but they obviously aren't around for a reason, weren't meant to be. As I've got older, I've found it harder to make friends. Honestly, I've got to the point where I don't care at this point. I have a few people about, so I count myself lucky. Saves any disappointment as well. Being honest with the people around me, and not lying to myself about who I am. This one resonates. I'm trying to figure out how to do this more because it seems like so many of my problems are caused by a fear of saying what I want or don't want in a situation. It's like a fear of confrontation. Or a fear of rejection. But here's the thing. No matter what you say or do, someone is going to be a hater. So say what you want/need now. As Dr. Seuss said, those that mind doesn't matter and those that matter doesn't mind. I hope I got that quote right. Telling motherfuckers no. It's funny. Someone else replied with saying yes more often. Maybe the commonality is expressing yourself without worrying about what others think. Ding 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 ding. Hector, Tio, Salamanca, LOL. The comment below is about saying yes motherfuckers get a no. Down ass bitches get a yes. Wisdom is knowing the difference between the two. God grant us the serenity to say no to the motherfuckers we cannot change, courage to say yes to down ass bitches, and wisdom to know the difference. I want to make one of those fancy embroidered pillows saying this. It's beautiful. It is like that sometimes. Getting up early and just doing what needs to be done in a day instead of putting it off forever. Update. I've been how I do this or how I got started. Honestly, I got started by getting up early for work. Slowly it became my new norm to get up at 7 a.m. on my days off. The getting things done part was trickier. I guess I started by doing small things like cleaning, or doing errands right away. Like if I was washing clothes, I wouldn't let them sit in the dryer. I would take them out right away and hang them up. Eventually it just became a routine, and part of my life. I'm not good at getting up early, but I am good at doing things straight away now, which is a good way to feel calmer and more together. Get up, make bed immediately. Come in from work, put shoes, bag, jacket away immediately. Cook, clean as you go. House is always nice to wake up and come home to, can have guests short notice, know where everything is, nice. Cooking and cleaning as you go is pretty much the only way to do any semi-ambitious cooking project. If you just let dirty stuff accumulate, not only do you quickly run out of tools, mixing bowls, etc., but you also run out of available workspace. I guess this can be avoided if you own a massive kitchen with lots of counter space and lots of kitchen supplies, but most of us don't. So, if you want to cook, like really cook, you have to start cleaning right away too. Working out what I wanted to do with my life. I'm 40 and have no idea. 48 and I'm starting to think that I want to be an astronaut. Or a cowboy. A space cowboy. Thank you for the award, new internet friend. And FYI, this was a Steve Miller reference. I'm embarrassed to admit, I don't get all the others. The official term is Maurice. What about a gangster of love? The official term for that is also Maurice. However, from personal experience, I have long ago learned that I'm just a law-abiding citizen of friendship. See you, space cowboy. That you, Spike. Cowboy Bebop opening intensifies 41 and same. How did you do it? To successfully make a 40-year plan, One has to contend with the fact that life will throw curveballs, and often one's desires will change. To deal with this, simply make 14,610 40-year plans, one for each day, and be ready to hop onto Plan B or Plan NQZ, as soon as the moment calls. Finishing my master's degree soon. Have been thinking about it, I have no idea. Computer science. Will be finishing my master's soon, delayed due to the pandemic, which is a blessing I guess, and no clue about what to do. Uneasy face. After school, I felt like standing on the ocean shore, too scared to go in. So I just wandered the beach for way too long, weighing options that all sounded vague and arcane to me. In the end, I tried something and enjoyed the financial security and independence. I can't say I hate what I'm doing, but I also didn't leave school with the intention to work as a freight forwarding agent. 38-year-old here. I know what I want, it's just going to cost me so much goddamn money, and I don't know how to get it. Reading, it's like being able to steal years of people's life experiences in just a few days without having to go through any of the bullshit. I'll add to this, writing. The typical response to this question is working out and flossing, but a lot of us already do that, or know that these things are important. A few years ago, well 7 now actually, I made a New Year's resolution to write every single day, journal style. I surprised myself by sticking with it. The next year, I did the same. After the 3rd or 4th year, it was a habit, a hobby, and a passion. Writing is the single most therapeutic activity I do. It's better than running, or hiking, or lifting. To put your problems on a document marginalizes them. It makes, almost, every problem immediately more manageable. Also, it's like a little time capsule. I can go back to this day 5 years ago, and see exactly what I was doing. Even if I didn't write about the entire day, a paragraph contains enough information to kickstart the brain into filling the gaps. So reading, yes, but writing as well. Edit, getting a lot of questions, so I thought I'd address here, physical or digital. I use a Google Doc, and I do this for 3 main reasons: accessibility, accountability, and I'd rather not get arthritis. Accessibility, Google Docs is always there. If you have 10 minutes before the dentist, write. If your friend is giving you a ride, someone, write. If you're lying in bed waiting for YouTube to buffer, write. Additionally, you can start to see character trends. It's really cool to be able to control a date, and see what you were up to exactly a year or 2 ago. I can see how many times I named my exes per year and see eras of dating, at least that's what I call it. There are tons of other stuff that's fun to look into as well, for example how many times I've said love through the years. These might sound silly, but it's interesting having a quantifier for happiness. Accountability, I cherish my time event log, diary, journal, whatever you call it. It's thousands and thousands of pages of personal thoughts. If I lost it, I'd be upset, to say the least. Google Docs assure that it'll be around. I also have saved copies elsewhere. Avoiding arthritis, there's no denying that physically writing a journal is timeless, classy, and even sexy. When I first started, I was only writing a few lines, and it wouldn't have been an issue, but I'm averaging 300 to 600 words a night, and I know for a fact that if it were by hand, I'd burn out around 200. How I structure my doc, since Google Docs can get quickly bogged down, I have a daily doc, a yearly doc, and a master doc. At the end of each month, I copy my daily doc into my yearly doc, and again at the end of every year into my mass doc. I keep a copy of each yearly doc because the master doc is so huge it just doesn't load anymore. How I structure individual entries: August 11th, 2020 ENTRY #1234 Write feelings here. My life isn't exciting enough to write daily. Yes, it is. Look, at the end of the day, you are the main character in your story. If you don't think you have enough to fill 1 paragraph each day of your actions, thoughts, emotions, well, maybe that's a wake-up call. But I've written pages about days where I just sit in and play video games all day. I write about my top 10 video games and why, my favorite characters, why that might be, who I'm playing with, strategies to not get gawked by a roaming Yasuo. There's plenty to write about even if you think you do nothing. That's obviously just one example, but writing daily has led to other mini projects. I now keep a log of quotes my friends say that make me laugh. I have a very detailed bucket list that I keep updating. I keep a weekly goal list. I have several top 10 lists, so whenever someone asks, "What are your favorite books?" I have a legitimate, thought-out, reasoned list which in my opinion makes for a much more interesting response than "I don't know." My daily writing has grown as I have over the years. My writing has improved exponentially. My goal-oriented self-management has been helpful in my career, personal life, and relationships. In fact, because of my journaling, I've landed my dream job as a full-time writer in the outdoor industry. Only good has come of daily writing, and I simply cannot recommend it enough. Edit: 2 people are asking for an example. Here's one I've shared before with names and places blocked out. Some of this is pretty lame, blame Thoreau because I was reading him when I wrote this. But even rereading this, I've seen just how much my writing has improved. Anyway, enjoy. December 5th, 2018 ENTRY #2089, I didn't want to hype myself up for last night. Honestly, I didn't even give the date much thought throughout the day. I was nose deep into Excel formulas anyway. But right after work, I walked over to Cafe on 16th and it was super hipster. Like I didn't even fit in there reading Walden. But that's what I did. I read for about an hour before my date showed up. I relished the time alone in the cafe. I put some Chopin variations on. I cracked open one of the most well-written books I have ever read, and fell into the cunning vortex of words that is the world of Walden. Side note, I just realized how amazing of a hangman word vortex is. I'll have to keep that one in my back pocket. After about an hour of self-company, my date arrived. To be completely sincere, I wasn't expecting much. I tend not to in these situations. Far too many have failed or ended in disappointment. Like armor, I prepare myself for the worst in the modern battlefield of courtship. She looked cute in her pictures, but not so to sweat my palms. And because of that, I didn't get nervous. But when she walked in, I was caught off guard, and in my flat-footedness, I didn't put my best foot forward, so to speak. My whole demeanor changed, and I immediately became tense. She walked up to the loft where I had positioned myself, and said hi before running down to get herself a coffee. I sat there like a fool, a blinded, baffled fool. Where words escaped me, charm evaded me, anxiety filled the vacuum left over. I said nothing at all to her those first few seconds. I smiled and attended to my book and headphones, moving them from pocket to pocket to distract my attention, and to present a busy atmosphere for the time. My own shuffling annoying me as I was buying time. Her fetching of coffee gave me the moment I needed to recollect my brain, and form an impromptu game plan for the tidal wave of excitement that had spilled over my emotional retention wall. By the time A got back, I was back and we chatted for a while about the usual family, from goals, jobs, passions, dreams, and aspirations. We talked for a long while, conversation never feeling dull, until I asked if she wanted to get dinner because I was starving. She agreed, and we walked over to Good Dog for a bite. There I discovered that she is both a non-drinker in addition to being vegetarian. I had actually guessed the second part, claiming that it has been a trend, and left it at that. We ate dinner at and continued to converse. I found out that she has a sister named, which is a little odd, A, and the exact name of my sister's, but I let it slide. Odder things have happened without so much as a second glance. I talked too much, like always. I talked about Theodore Roosevelt, a lot of course, and she seemed into it, and if she wasn't, she faked interest, which is debatably more important. Not wanting to leave the other's company, we walked to City Hall, and observed an absorbing new sport being played on the ice rink. It was a mix of field hockey and soccer. I had never seen anything like it. All I know is that I wanted to play. We then walked to the big tree, and lulled in its Christmas charm and spirit, while marinating in festive music. I wanted to kiss her. The time and tenor were perfect, but I wasn't quite getting those vibes from her, and there was no alcohol assisting my courage, so I let it be, something I may come to regret. We called it a night soon after that and made plans to meet again, and soon. I think we are doing something on Sunday, and before then, even, if we have time. Is she great? No evidence was submitted to believe otherwise. Maybe a new era is on the horizon. Maybe not, but I like the prospect, and I like the trend I have been seeing in Philadelphia so far. I feel alive here, and I felt alive last night. I took the train home, and reopened my investigations into Walden. The night had gone well, great in fact, and I was riding the endorphins, a welcome pick-me-up after the news on Friday about my job. Today at the office has been a bit of a haze. It is difficult, knowing that I am not going to be here in 2 weeks, to be interested in any projects. Most projects are wrapping up for the end of the year, and everything else is mostly long-term, meaning I'll have little to no impact. I did have a nice conversation with Elle today. She's been kind to me since the start, and she said that she'll talk to see about my future. Otherwise, I have been mostly working on the Columbia project. I've put some effort into this one for 2 reasons. Firstly, knowing how to use Excel and the formulas is personally beneficial. Secondly, if Columbia does use what I make them, how cool would that be? I have to mention Thoreau. I have been non-stop reading him since I picked up Walden a few weeks ago. My goodness, what beautiful prose. Even if the intent and meaning behind the words are lost on me, the art of the sentences themselves are enough to satisfy. I know Thoreau is a young man's philosopher, but how I resonate with the work. I wish I had read this years ago. Comparing yourself and one's work to what lays on the nightstand is impossible to abstain from. I would have better written my words had I had the experience of knowing Thoreau's. TLDR, reading is good, but writing is worth its weight in gold. Journal writing since I was 18. Pushing 60 years old now. Tried quitting multiple times but just can't. That bookcase full of notebooks was like a millstone around my neck. Finally burned them all a couple years back. No regrets. Still write daily and burn the journals as I finish them now. Live it up. Write it down. Be interested to read some of those burnt ones. Doubtful. I shredded my old journals. Most of the entries are empty batter about that day's happenings. Sometimes, you'll write vague things thinking you'll remember what you were going through and you don't. Most days are uneventful. It's the process of releasing and examining your thoughts and emotions that matters. The notebook itself becomes like scrap paper while working on the project that is your life. Your life matters. The scrap paper rarely tells a great story, but your life speaks for itself. It is the greatest piece of art you can create in this lifetime. On a similar note, I've recently started writing my own autobiography. This is also very therapeutic for me, and I will be able to pass my knowledge on to others/my children. And on top of that, I make a conscious effort to make it a boot worth reading and live my best life. You're writing it all on a boot. I love how after reading this I scrolled down, and the next 2 comments were working out and flossing. How would you advise to start with it? Got a feeling it might be something for me, but no clue how to start with it to get started, and kickstart the brain on days that seem uneventful. I have some form questions I fall back on. Even when I have nothing to write, I can answer a few sentences each, and by the end I find I have a lot more to say. For example, what was the highlight of your day? What conflicts did you face, with whom, and did they resolve? What are you working on, or struggling with? What are you proud of? What would you like to have done in the next month with your free time? They sound mundane and eye-rolly at first, but forcing myself to answer them is usually enough to get the wheels spinning. I bought a Kindle Fire and a monthly subscription. I'm one of the few people that definitely spend more than £7.99/month in books. The Kindle gave me access to so much more content. Best present to myself ever. Learn about finances. Any directions/tips as to where to start? YouTube. Look up topics such as investing, personal finance, economics. I find YouTube to be an easy way to learn things, just got to be able to filter out the bullshit. Also, Khan Academy has some great lessons on finance. What branch of finance are you particularly interested in? I could recommend some sources in honesty. I did not know that there were branches to finance. That's how clueless I am. On the bright side, I have a month or so before school starts, so I guess this is the perfect time to learn about finance. Thanks for your help. Loving myself, I should have been more selfish. I gave too much of my energy to unworthy people. I should have loved myself more. Wearing sunscreen every time I go out. This should be higher up. I took quarantine as a chance to take my skincare seriously for the first time in my life, 30s with adult and lifelong acne and scars. I started wearing sunscreen every day even though I'm mostly inside, and damn, it's made a huge improvement. I honestly had no idea how much the little bits of sunlight I was getting during the day was affecting how I looked. Edit, sorry, since a few people asked, my skin is much more even and less dry. A lot of my hyperpigmentation has faded. It just looks healthier overall. That daily sun on my face and summer weather probably hid some of my skin problems from having a tan and drying out my acne, but was making my skin blotchier and more damaged. Now it's healed a lot and I can use products that make my skin more sensitive to the sun and give me a more natural glow. But I do take walks outside, I'm just diligent about sunscreen, and take a high-dose vitamin D, smiley face. What has improved? I had skin cancer this year, minor, early, surgical treatment completely got it, but I now have a scar below my eye. Please, everyone, wear sunscreen. And a hat if you will be out long. Also, brush your teeth. My husband neglected his teeth for years, and now has had to have 2 root canals since quarantine started. Talk about terrible timing, huh? Exercising. Could have avoided so much joint and back pain, asthma and self-confidence issues if I started years earlier. It's amazing how much basic stretching and yoga have significantly reduced my back issues. Workout. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. It's never too late to start working out. I've been working out 3 times a week since February 2017. And am in the best shape of my life now, at age 45. 25-year-old me couldn't do a third of what I do now. I can confirm this. My daughter planted a redwood tree seed. It's like 6 inches tall now. LOL. You don't plant a tree for your generation but for the next. 25-year-old me would run circles around current me. I'm 26, I could run circles around 25-year-old me, I'm 35. Yeah, it's hard to start, but once you form a habit, it's pretty easy to keep going 100%. The first few times are a pain in the ass, but even a few weeks in you may start noticing improvements depending on where you are. I had constant back pain from being very tall, and working an office job sitting down all day. Posture was awful. In a couple weeks was already better, and after a little over a month it was pretty much gone. Plus, your body just works better. Even my acid reflux and other issues I had were pretty much gone when I went from a bit overweight to fit. Better sleep, less depression for many, don't at me, and you feel more comfortable in a swimsuit, too. Exercise combined with eating healthy and kicking other bad eating habits, drinking, sugar, has almost eliminated my depression. A lot of people who have depression don't want to accept just how much lifestyle plays a part in their mood. It's compounded by the fact that depression makes these things more difficult, which is an argument I can accept, but there's also toxic communities like r/thanks I am cured where the group consensus is that absolutely nothing can improve your mental state. Depression is hard enough, and exercising more isn't a panacea cure, but if you combine depression with the learned helplessness these communities promote, then there's absolutely nothing that can be done to help. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I know that it isn't as simple as bootstrapping your way out of it, but your narrative about your depression absolutely plays a huge role, and that's something you can control. Personal responsibility isn't going to magically fix your life, but I absolutely hate the learned mindset that it plays no role in mental health. Mostly because I fell into the same trap at the height of my problems, and the only way I ever got out was by taking control of my narrative, telling myself there were things I could do. It can start small, with something as simple as making your bed and cleaning up your quarters a bit. Depression is a bitch, but if your narrative is on its side rather than your own, nobody can help you. And it's hard to make that argument to a depressed person, because they identify so much with their depression that it's easy for them to conceptualize any attack on it as an attack on them. I agree with everything you said. The meds helped me reach a point where I could take baby steps, and after that it was finally possible to make efforts for sleeping well and exercising a bit. COVID anxiety has fucked it all up though, and I'm constantly reminding myself to focus on what I can still control. Yup. Narrative is important. Seeing yourself with an internal locus of control is vital, despite the external factors that will always play a part in your life, COVID being a fantastic example. Part of what helped build the disdain against the power of positive thinking was clueless people without depression not giving the devil his due, so we have to do that. We have to understand that it isn't something you can just will your way out of. But having a sophisticated understanding about the direction of your narrative is the only way to start attacking it from the multiple angles necessary to make progress: social, emotional, spiritual, physical. Social. How are your friends? Are you hanging out with people who don't want the best for you, who would rather not see you succeed, if only because it casts a bad light on their own inadequacies? Are you spending time in internet communities where people are constantly trying to better themselves, or ones where they're mocking any ideas about positive change being possible? Spiritual and emotional. What do you tell yourself about it? Do you tell yourself that things can never get better, or do you say, things suck right now, but I hope for a better future, and maybe doing these things would move me closer to that? You can and should write those thoughts down. It'll clarify them, and give you the opportunity to examine where they're overly pessimistic, not advocating for blanket positivity here, just realism over cynicism. And then the physical. Are you drinking more than you should? Smoking too much pot? Are you exercising and keeping your living space clean? But if you tell yourself nothing can ever get better, and you allow strangers on the internet to reinforce that mindset, you'll never start down that path in the first place. This is brilliant and sums up beautifully how I have felt about my 10-year struggle with depression. I consider it now to be lifelong, and I know I will have ups and downs. But you have to learn about yourself. What works, what doesn't, how you can access help, what you can put in place when you start to fall, what to do when you've fallen. But what doesn't work, and has never helped anyone, is being told on the internet that it's impossible. I think the last bit about identifying as a person with depression, instead of a person with depression, is spot on. I'm not saying it's not hard. And I'm not saying it doesn't feel impossible. But if you make a list of what makes you feel sad, and what makes you feel less sad, then that's a good start. This right here is pretty much why I recently started working out. The human body just kind of sucks if you don't keep in moderate shape. Can confirm. I'll add stretching regularly to that list. I started doing a ton of stretching and some yoga in response to chronic knee pain, which seems to be fading, fingers crossed. The increased flexibility is such a huge thing. The weird part is you don't even realize you weren't flexible, or that you've gained it back. It's like the motor cortex in your brain just files away the fact that it now knows how to hook your foot onto a ledge and pull yourself up, or to brace yourself between two walls, real-world examples from dabbling in obstacle course stuff. You've never jumped up and over a 6-foot wall by high jumping and mantling at the top of the jump, but it's the most natural thing in the world once you're able to, even though you didn't know it was possible. Yes. I've recently become very consistent about it, and have honestly learned a lot. It's about more than just losing extra pounds. You will just overall feel better. Mentally and physically. I wish I had been in the habit of doing this years ago, but I'm just glad I started now. P.S. For anyone who is having a hard time getting motivated, be kind to yourself. Set realistic goals, even if you start small. If you only have time for a quick 15 minutes workout, that's okay. You still accomplished something and did something for yourself. Honestly, being fit and healthier earlier only makes it easier down the road. Came here to say the same thing. Only started running in my late 20s, wish I had started earlier. The strength it has given me, both physical and mental, is incredible. Taking care of my teeth. I didn't take my dental health seriously when I was young, and now I need a decent amount of work done that will likely cost me a lot of money. Same. Hate my teeth now. Ditto, hence my username. Well, if you work hard you can be just ugly. Want to hear some fucked up shit that I just learned? It's possible for people to have teeth that are extra susceptible to getting cavities, and will get them even if they brush properly twice a day. I have the shittiest teeth. You can't really tell until you X-ray them. My mom had full dentures by 45, and my dad's teeth are erect too. So many dentists gave me a lot of flack about it, and saying I must be drinking too many sugary drinks or not flossing. Well, a few years ago when I saw a dentist at Cleveland Clinic, he said after just a quick glance, "Wow. You take really good care of your teeth." I wanted to cry. I felt so validated after being shamed for so long when I brush several times a day and floss. He was the first one to notice my efforts. Yeah, my teeth have lots of cavities, but they don't have hardly any tartar. Why other dentists didn't notice that I have no idea. Mine literally rot from the inside out. It's weird. Why do so many dentists feel the need to shame their clients? Imagine any other medical professional doing the same. You go to their offices willing to better yourself and drop a lot of money, and they keep shit-talking you. Can confirm. My mother gave me awful genetics. My dad, for me. I remind him sometimes. As an adult, I'm very thankful my parents invested in my teeth at a young age. Braces, regular cleanings. At one point I even had a retainer because I sucked my thumb so much as a child it was pushing my teeth. I probably would have ended up with awful teeth if they didn't. I went through all this to AT. But the constant dental work pushed me away, so when it was up to me, I basically refused to go to the dentist for 15 years. Finally broke down and went last year when the pain got to be too much. It wasn't as much work as I had built up in my head, and fortunately, technology has advanced a lot since then, so the visit was basically pain-free. Really glad I went. Looking forward to going back. I'm in my early 60s and I've recently added a periodontist and an endodontist to my contacts list. 3 extractions, maybe a 4th, a root canal, and 2 cavities. This is a good time to get dental work done since we're all wearing masks. Hopefully I'll have my implant/partial denture before the masks come off. I'm about $4,000 in at this point, with no end in sight. Playing piano and guitar. Yoga made me a much fitter, more confident, and happy person. I started last October on a recommendation from my physical therapist. I had some mystifying back problem that manifested itself in hip pain, like being shot in the hip. Between the sessions and exercises, I added yoga twice a week. If I were going to do anything differently, I'd have started yoga 30 years ago. I've been pain-free for 10 months. P.S. I see so many other confident and happy people in class, and I'm happy for them, but for me, it's just a long exercise session in a 95-degree studio. While they are in triangle, I'm just a guy with his leg in the air. Nerd face. I honestly read Yoda at first glance. Well, I'm sure becoming a Jedi would provide similar benefits. Read too much memes, you may have HMM. Fitter. Happier. More productive. Comfortable. Not drinking too much. Regular exercise at the gym, 3 days a week. Getting on better with your associate employee contemporaries at ease, eating well, no more microwave dinners and saturated fats, a patient better driver. Accepting myself and not tying who I am to other people's perceptions. It took me so long to accept my brain and my neurology, much less be proud of it like I am now. It really screwed up my self-esteem, when I was little, and I didn't really get out of that until high school. I mean, high school is a pretty apt time to lose your insecurity. Thinking. Sometimes you just have to stop for a while and think. You will be seeing a lot more, or, depending on what kind of person you are, not thinking as much. That is me. Thinking makes me kind of depressed. I don't want to think about how already a quarter of my life has passed. Buying Apple stock in 2002. Or Bitcoin in 2011. I discovered Bitcoin in, I believe, 2009/2010, whenever it was something like 50 cents a coin. I was underage at the time, and needed my parents' approval for any larger purchases, anything over $100. So I asked if they'd let me invest a little bit in this new thing called cryptocurrency, and got shot down because it was too risky. Being a teenager, I quickly forgot and moved on. That is, until 2017, when it had exploded, and I realized that for the investment I wanted to make, I'd have somewhere around $25 million in Bitcoin. I have not let my parents forget this. Even if your parents agreed and let you buy the Bitcoins, the second your profits hit the thousands, you would have likely cashed out. There are a lot of people who made good money from Bitcoin, but very few rags to 25 million stories. Exactly when they hit $2,000 for the first time, people cashed out. Or Tesla when it first went public, or PRPL a few months ago. I had 1,000 shares of Apple back in '97. In 2 weeks, I doubled my money, then I sold half so everything in it was profit. Should have kept it all in, but hindsight is 2020. I sold it around this time because the company wasn't doing too great. It was before the iPod came out. Edit, about 2 weeks after I sold Apple stock, the price dropped by 40%. So, at the time, I made a pretty good decision. The idea that Apple would have a market cap higher than Microsoft was completely ludicrous. My students laugh when I tell them stock analysts constantly made fun of Amazon in the early 2000s. A lot of analysts said Amazon would never be profitable, online retailing was not a great idea, and the CEO was going to impoverish himself. Joke's on them. The whole strategy of Amazon was to lose profit for about a decade, so that makes sense. I wish I could find the interview I saw almost 20 years ago. The analyst was making fun of Jeff Bezos in a roundabout way for running a company that never turned a profit, and was accumulating more and more debt. He just smiled and said, "We're going to turn a profit next quarter, or maybe the quarter after that." Taking my diet seriously. Not long before my 25th birthday, I had high blood pressure, insulin resistance, from PCOS apparently, popping joints, fatigue, permanent discoloration from obesity, chub rub, sleep apnea. The past 3 months I've lost 15 out of the 150 I need to lose, so the road ahead is long. I just want to be hot and alive. While I'm still in my 20s, LMAO, as I reached for my coffee mug, my wrist joint popped. Saying yes more often. Once I started doing it, I began realizing how much fun/great stuff I had avoided because of prejudices or lack of goodwill. A while back I realized I was turning into Kyle Stan from the "You're Getting Old" episode of South Park. I realized I was turning into a cynical asshole, and that I hated all sorts of stuff for no good reason. Music, movies, television, internet culture, just anything popular I had this odd resentment for. I had this tendency to gatekeep, too. I'd have these rational explanations for why popular things weren't good enough for me. Past couple of years I have committed myself to trying things I used to hate and realizing that my disdain was, itself, stupid. I genuinely don't know how I got that way. I do think some of it is just getting older, but most of that cynicism is just a choice that I didn't realize I was making. I don't know where it comes from. But it's possible to fight against it. Your post reminded me of that change. I used to get invited to things and I'd often say no for whatever reason. Those invites started to eventually dry up. I'm a lot better at it now. I know the phrase, "go along to get along," is seen as being passive or bad, but as a recovering cynic I really needed a healthy dose of going along. I'd swung too far the other way. Yes man, yes man, yes man, if the molehill won't come to the mountain, then the mountain will come to the molehill. Mine would be saying no more often, interestingly enough. The thought of staying in on a weekend night repulsed me for the longest. It didn't help matters when I met my wife, because she was the exact same way. We'd go to concerts and comedy shows on weeknights, double dates with friends at least once or twice a week, just any excuse to go out, blow money, and socialize. Over the last year or two, we've started to morph into homebuddies, and this quarantine stuff has helped even more. It feels nice to stay in and enjoy each other's company, or even do our own thing in opposite rooms. I was the opposite of you, very introvert, so I guess that the ideal would be to find a good spot in between. I'm the same way. I can remember the first time I actually said yes to something that I was kind of unsure on with people I didn't know. A guy from a math class a month before that I kind of knew from a week-long group project. I had to spend 5 minutes figuring out who he was before I responded, invited me to play board games with one of his friends. And I was like, I don't really want to, but also realized my only other plans were playing LOL all night alone. So I went to get dinner with them, and then back to the friend's house. Fast forward a year, and we're roommates, and I can confidently say they're my best friends. Any examples of it? Have friends, spend time with people, social interactions. How do you start doing it? I can't connect with any person I meet. I didn't find friends, the friends found me. Still don't know why or how they did that, but they did, and now I'm way happier than before. So I guess generally having more social interactions can help. A lot of people found friends on Discord. My best friend ever became my friend during 2nd grade. She stared right into my eyes and said, in a very confident voice, "Let's sit together at lunch." Me being an awkward person said, "Okay." I didn't even know her name, and never talked to her until that day. I miss her. Not as applicable during a pandemic, but the generic answer of finding an event in your city that you'll enjoy and others will also attend, without it being a huge crowd like a concert, is a good one. But the key phrase here is that you'll enjoy, i.e., do not take a pottery class if you have no interest in pottery to begin with. For me it was rec league dodgeball/softball, and the reason is everyone there including myself liked playing it, so it's a lot easier to be social when there's immediate similar interests with which I could relate. Eating food with more spice, thus trying foods from other cultures. For years the spiciest food I ate had only salt and pepper, and I missed out on so many other foods from so many other cultures. I eat a relatively diverse diet, and yet most Asian cuisines burn my damn throat out. I wish I knew the trick to enjoying food that tastes like lava. Soy sauce, rice vinegar, garlic, and ginger, there's your big four for Asian cuisine without worrying about spice. For Thai, add some fish sauce and lime juice to that mix. Still not spicy. Sichuan peppercorns are also not burned spicy, they are tingly and kind of lemony flavored. Of course, they are usually coupled with lots of fiery red chilies, but you can omit those. Saving money. Still so angry at teenage me for buying all that crap, when I could have been building a nice pot up without even having to sacrifice too much disposable income, which was most of my income at that age. I'll give teenage you a break. We all were shitty with money as young people, many of us still so. Maybe you needed to go through that in order to finally learn how. I know that I learned my most valuable money lessons from finally paying off my debt from 2 years of reckless spending. Listening to radio/podcast/audiobooks, I also wonder how my life would have been different if I knew about NPR in high school. Quitting my old job to find something better. I'm a person of habit, and I stayed there because it was stable, and I was afraid of losing that if I tried to find another job. I dropped an application at another company with my years of experience listed right on the front. My phone blew up the next day. They wanted to hire me on the spot. Offered me double what I was currently making. I nearly had a heart attack. It's been almost a year now, and I couldn't be happier. Saving for retirement. It's always said and mostly ignored until you get older and realize you've made a grave mistake. To compare, if you started saving just $200 a month at 18 to retire at 65, you would end up with approximately $330,000 at a low rate of return. If you waited just 10 more years to start saving the same amount, and started saving $200 a month at age 28, you would only have $200,000. Your best friend for saving for retirement is time. Even if you are only saving $50 a month at 18, it is still vastly better than saving $200 a month if you've waited too long to start. Edit. I feel compelled to add this since most of you are focusing on the dollar amount and not the point. The point is, start saving sooner rather than later. Forget the $200, save what you can. The dollar amount does not matter, just save something. Ideally 10% of your paycheck, but that's not possible for many. So something, even if it's only $10. Anything. I'm just worried about saving so much and then dying before I get to retirement tbh. You won't lose the money though, it will go to your kin, though probably taxed. Won't disappear though. Besides, what if you don't die? Then you're fucked in the pink. Yeah, the chances of dying before are quite low. I'd hate to have to work my ass off when I'm 75, because I didn't save and plan when I was young and healthy, smiley face. Watching movies. I have always been a reader, and watched movies very rarely, but due to lockdown, I was looking for some movie recommendations, and made a list of movies my favorite writers liked. Watched every movie by Fellini and Chaplin, and now it feels like falling in love. I have literally watched a movie a day last month. If you want to go deeper, try out the 1001 movies to watch before you die book. There are enough movies in there to keep you occupied for a long time. I think I'm maybe 1/3 of the way through it right now. Waking up early in the mornings, 5 ish. I really struggle in the mornings, so waking up early and going for a walk lets me get through the shit before I start working. Took me a few months to adjust though. Self-care. Spent more time with my mum while I could. And my dad, I suppose, but feel that regret less. Investing. Put 10% of every paycheck into stocks, bonds, Roth IRA, etc. I never did and ended up getting a military retirement instead. I would have been so much better off if I had invested right out of high school, and just kept doing it. My mum gave me £1,000, we grew up poor, and they've never had a lot, so this was mega, and I decided to not put it in my bank where it would be absorbed, but I bought premium bonds, and as well as reinvesting wins, I pledged to add £50/month as a completely separate savings fund. After 12 months of, I have over £2,175, and that is due entirely to that initial gift from my mum. I've always been awful at saving, and it's so comfortable to know that money is there, slowly growing. Great. Keep at it. When I was 19 years old, someone taught me all about investing, and how to be a millionaire by the time I was 40. I didn't take the advice. Here I am almost 47 with zero investments, only my paycheck and my military pension. I know I could start now, but reasons. Do you want to teach this 19-year-old how to be a millionaire by 40? LOL. Meditating. Painting and building miniatures. My granddad used to build trains and railway miniatures. Wish I managed to show him some of my miniatures I have painted and learned from him. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I have rolled with kids 20 years younger than me and get absolutely destroyed. No matter what age or body weight you are, BJJ is an excellent skill to have. You basically will dominate 90% of newcomers with just a little practice. I'm starting Jiu-Jitsu classes this Thursday. Glad I made that choice. Not giving a fuck. I gave too many fucks, now I have no more fuck to give. Ignore my parents. Turns out narcissistic parents that raise you under a rock to believe they have the best intentions for you is a complete lie. If I had ignored them, I would have started saving up money at 14 old latest and moved out at 18. Preparing seriously for my college applications. Wow! You are still with us. Thanks for being such a nice person. As long as you are here, why not like this video and subscribe to our channel? Also, you can press the bell icon so you won't miss any future uploads.